Oh god, that's my nightmare crocodile farm. Hey guys, I've got a really cool video for you this week. Some of you may know that I'm Australian, but I live in South America, in Colombia, and I thought I could share a little bit of my history with you guys, starting off with 50 crazy Australian animal moments. Everybody knows Australia has crazy animals, but this video has some amazing ones that I want to show you, including my number one, which is one of the most dangerous animals, and you probably wouldn't expect it to be, but it's a terrifying animal, so stick around to the end. I'm going to show you that one. Also, for those of you who stick around to the end, I'm going to share a little story with you that not even many of my friends know about me. When I was younger, I grew up with kangaroos. I had pet kangaroos. So I want to tell you that story, which is really, really cool. And I also have a little confession to share with you. So there's so much coming up in this video. I'm sure you're going to love it. Let's get straight into it. Okay, and we're off with a bang. The eastern brown snake is one of the deadliest snakes in the world. And this guy's just casually kicking it out of the way. If you get bitten by that, you wouldn't last long. I believe they're the second most venomous snake in Australia or the world, maybe. I'm not sure.
Here is some intense footage recorded of a golfer battling a kangaroo.
I have some stories to tell you about kangaroos in this video. Some personal experiences with them that you're going to want to hear. Sadly, I don't like seeing that this guy was, fighting this kangaroo. But the thing about them is that they can be very aggressive. So I can imagine this guy was just trying to protect himself, because you can see the kangaroo is chasing him, right?
This wild koala helps themselves into
Koala
a house.
casually strolling into someone's open door. It's never happened to me. We don't have koalas on the west coast, but on the eastern side of Australia, you can find them. This is a frilled-necked lizard. Generally pretty harmless. I mean, normally they just run away. They're pretty timid, but like that, yeah, it's just running away. No harm. These are called sulphur-crested cockatoos, which are found on the north and east side of Australia. I'll pause. These normally are not aggressive birds, but because they've become accustomed to people, they can get a little cheeky. I remember years ago, like 10 or 15 years ago, when I went to a very big park in Sydney called Centennial Park, and there were many of them there, and I was just sitting down eating my lunch, and the next thing I knew, I had a sulphur-crested cockatoo on each shoulder and one on my head, and all three of them were snatching the lunch right out of my hands with zero fear of me. But of course, it's not recommended to feed animals, wild animals, because this is what can happen. They become accustomed to it.
A crocodile attempts to snack on a beached shark.
Oh my God, what's happening? A crocodile trying to eat a shark? Oh God, that's my nightmare crocodile farm. I have an abnormal fear of crocodiles for no reason. I don't know the name of this spider, but if any Aussies are watching, please let me know. That kind of behavior is very similar to tarantulas, where they build that funnel-shaped web, and basically they wait for a prey insect to just walk on the web, and then they can feel it, it triggers them, and then they snatch it really, really fast. Lightning speed. That's slow motion. What's that spider called?
This
Australians, please tell me.
Managed to tame a wild
this is called a kookaburra, or a laughing kookaburra. This one, I believe, is male because it has the blue on its wing. Kookaburras have this kind of laughing sound. I actually really like them. I think they're good. They're very good at controlling pests and eating mice and things like that. If you live in a rural area, you might not like them because they're very loud. And they might be your alarm clock at 5 or 6 in the morning. Moving on. What?
For a new girlfriend. What will he do?
These birds, by the way, are called emus. I have no idea what this idiot's doing. These are the second largest flightless birds in the world. I've had some experiences with them attacking me before.
An incredible
in a
moment
park.
occurs
Anyway,
after a kangaroo is saved from a river.
Oh, it looks like they're trying to save this kangaroo.
Oh, well done.
Oh, and they did it. That's awesome. Oh, that's cute.
Oh, he's thanking
Saying
you.
thank you. Oh, my childhood trauma. I have to pause here for a second and tell you about what just happened. That bird, it's a black and white bird, and I'll put a picture on the screen for you. It's called a magpie. they are very aggressive during their breeding season, which is just for a couple of months of the year. Normally they're fine, but they will swoop down and attack you. Oh God, the trauma. Um, brings back trauma because when I used to walk to school or walk to my bus stop to go to school, I lived in a rural area. And for a couple of months of the year, they would fly down from the trees and start swooping at me. And I'd have to walk just holding a stick to protect myself. Uh, oh, they say if you are riding a bicycle, I don't know if this is true, you should put a helmet on and put some fake eyes on the back so that they think you can see them from behind, so they won't swoop you from behind. Oh, they're terrifying animals. But but by the way, as I said, they're not always aggressive. And recently, I found this account on Instagram, and I really recommend you go and watch it because I love it. It's called Molly and Peggy, I believe. Molly is the magpie, and Peggy is a Staffordshire dog who have become best friends. And the magpie is free to roam, it's free to leave, but it prefers to stay and live at this house because it loves the dogs. It's become best friends with the dogs. I'll put a short video on the screen of show you their account, and go check them out and give them a follow on Instagram. It's one of my favorite accounts. Oh dear, here we have dogs fighting kangaroos, and this is really serious because kangaroos are very, very strong animals. If I was that dog owner, I would not be letting my dogs in near a kangaroo, especially in the water, because the kangaroos have the advantage they can drown the dog. I have stories to tell you about kangaroos coming up. Good ones. See what I mean about magpies? They swoop you from behind it. They're highly aggressive animals during mating season, during breeding season. This poor woman. That's my childhood trauma.
This koala is feeling mighty confident.
I think this is a normal koala. It could be a drop bear. It's a drop bear. The koalas are the cuddly ones that you can hold in the zoo, and they're very friendly, but that's a drop bear. See what I mean? The drop bears, they look very similar, but highly aggressive. They say if you're walking out in the forest, or the bush as we call it in Australia, always put a bit of Vegemite behind your ears because it repels them.
Here is a jaw-dropping moment.
Oh my God, this guy's just on a
recorded of
canoe
with a saltwater crocodile.
in croc-infested waters. That is insane, because crocodiles in Australia can go up to, a few meters long, and man versus crocodile, the man rarely wins. Oh, that terrifies me. That's a terrifying video for me. It's like a nightmare. He's very lucky to escape. Oh my God. Oh, this is another interesting lizard called a thorny devil lizard. They live, in the outback, in the more of the dry desert areas of Australia. You wouldn't see them in the cities, but very interesting animals. Very interesting. These are the laughing kookaburras that I was telling you about. And if you listen carefully, they kind of sound like they're laughing. They're one of my favorite Australian birds. This kangaroo just looks like it's trying to steal the bird feed. At least it's not attacking the man. Now this is called the Tasmanian devil, and for those of us who grew up with Looney Tunes cartoons, your picture of what the Tasmanian devil is probably very different. The real Tasmanian devil is quite an aggressive little animal, and it's got that horrible growl sound, unlike any other animal I can think of. Pretty vicious little animals, but again, they only live in limited areas of Australia. In Tasmania, they normally live underground. You probably rarely see them. Just a crocodile being released into the wild.
There we go.
Now this is not the drop bear that I mentioned earlier. This is a normal koala. Easy to tell the difference. The koalas are the friendly ones. The drop bears are obviously more aggressive, and they have longer fangs. Koalas are beautiful. I love them. As many of you know, there are often many very, very big bushfires, or for Americans, forest fires in Australia, and sadly they are very frequent, and when there are very large ones like that, they decimate the populations of many of these animals. So it's so important that we have animal sanctuaries where we can breed them and repopulate their native areas.
Skippy!
Now isn't that just an image of Australia? Just a kangaroo bouncing around in the streets of the suburbs. You have to be careful if you encounter a kangaroo. They normally will just bounce away, but just don't corner them.
A man
Now this
demonstrates
is
how to
an
pick up an
echidna, which is kind of like a porcupine.
Well,
Where you imagine like a hedgehog. They just kind of roll up in a ball and they protect themselves with their spines, but they're not normally dangerous.
Go one way and he'll move around a bit. But there you go. So there you go.
If you love this kind of video, please subscribe and come along with me on my future adventures.
God. Imagine going to your door and seeing a kangaroo that size trying to get into your house. It could probably quite easily just smash the window down. Oh.
A truly incredible encounter
crocodiles.
of feeding a giant crocodile off
I
of a
know
large
their
boat.
importance in the ecosystem and in the wild, and I respect them, but oh, they terrify me. I'll pause very shortly to tell you a story from about 22 years ago, I guess. I went to an area in the northeast of Australia called Port Douglas, and I believe we drove a bit further north, and we went on one of these boat tours to see crocodiles. And I remember from where you get dropped off in the car to walking to the boat, you're walking through this very low kind of shrub bushland towards a river full of hundreds of crocodiles. And I was absolutely terrified walking just that short distance, maybe, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 meters, because I didn't know if there were crocodiles in the bushes around me. I didn't know. Obviously, crocodiles usually attack from the water, but I didn't know that at the time. So I was walking down this road thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. But then getting to go on a boat and to see them in the wild is pretty incredible. It's a memory I'll never forget. I'm not a fan of crocodiles, but I do respect them. Moving on.
How's this for golf today? They've all decided to settle in the middle of the fairway.
Just some kangaroos on a golf course. It's pretty common, actually. Another little kookaburra.
Do you want to sit on my lap? Hey.
Coming in for a feed. Another male
Hi.
by the looks of it.
A woman effortlessly
Oh,
scares off a large crocodile from attacking her dog.
As they say in Latin America. Oh, well, I'll kind of translate it. The scary chancla. Chancla is the Spanish word for a sandal. It is the fear of all naughty children and animals in Colombia, in Latin America, in all of Latin America. And as this video shows, even crocodiles are scared of la chancla. This woman is brave, going up against massive crocodile, just trying to protect her dog. Okay, now
Crosses a crocodile-infested lake.
Aussies, please correct me, because I've never been to this place personally, but I believe this is Hales Crossing, or maybe it's another similar crossing. It is one of the most dangerous crossings because, as you can see, there are crocodiles downstream from this crossing, which is partly submerged by water. There have been cases where cars have been washed downstream, washed off the road, and that's an extremely dangerous situation because if you get out of your car, you could be eaten very quickly. Is that another eastern brown snake?
Behavior of an Australian
I believe
eastern
so.
brown snake.
The second deadliest snake. Never provoke snakes or spiders in Australia. Almost all of them are very deadly. I don't know why this guy's doing this, but anyway. Crazy. An emu.
Is not very friendly
Is
to
that an emu?
cameras.
Oh, hi.
Oh God, see again, dogs versus kangaroos. Now we have to remember kangaroos are the native animals from Australia and dogs are introduced. So I am on the side of the kangaroo, even though the kangaroo can kill dogs. And I'm a dog lover. It's horrible. But, you know, this irresponsible owner is letting his dogs attack a kangaroo. Fortunately, it escaped. Luckily. I'm sure you've all heard about the massive spiders in Australia. Personally, I've never seen one that big. Those ones you'd probably find more in the rural areas, but not in the main cities.
Here
Oh,
is
this
footage
video
of
is giving
kangaroo
kangaroos a really bad
attacking a
reputation.
tourist.
They're not all like this, but if they get angry, notice how strong their tails are. They can stand their whole body weight up on their tails so that they can kick you. pretty scary. Oh, these are the drop bears I told you about. Ferocious. Oh god, more drop bears. Ah.
You don't wanna...
Did you get that on camera?
Yeah, I think so.
A toddler
God,
gets
now,
up too close to an annoying
Parents of the
kangaroo.
year. I'm being sarcastic. Why would you let your child close to a kangaroo? I knew that was going to happen. Look how powerful the jump is on a kangaroo. That would have destroyed that car's roof. My God.
Wild dingoes may not be as
Okay, now these
dangerous as
are
everyone
dingoes.
thinks.
Dingoes are considered the native Australian dog. However, technically they're not really native. They were introduced to Australia around 4,000 years ago, apparently. Not by Europeans, but by Asian neighboring islands, I believe, is how they probably came onto the mainland. Australia used to have an animal called the thylacine, which was called the Tasmanian tiger, and I'll put a photo on the screen. Apparently, when the dingoes were introduced, they decimated the numbers of Tasmanian tigers. So in the end, Tasmanian tigers were only found on Tasmania, which is why when the Europeans discovered Australia, they only discovered them on Tasmania. Tasmanian tiger is extinct now due to hunting by European settlers, because the Tasmanian tigers, which don't really look like tigers, by the way, they look like a cross between a dog and a tiger, but they have those stripes. But because they were killing a lot of the livestock, the government used to pay hunters rewards for killing them, and the last one died in a zoo in the early 1900s. And it's a tragedy. But something good I heard recently is that they're trying to bring them back from extinction in a very interesting way by taking DNA from preserved thylacine, Tasmanian tigers, and creating kind of like a hybrid with the nearest living relative of that animal. And they say that in our lifetime, there will be thylacine, or a very, very similar version of it, alive and reintroduced into nature, which was really, really important for the ecosystem. I love science. I think that's a fascinating thing. And I believe there are many other animals that scientists are trying to bring back all around the world, including the woolly mammoth, which is amazing. Okay, back to the video. Oh God, this guy must have mistook a koala for, it was a drop bear. Oh, look at the size of these kangaroos. They are massive. Some of them are so big and muscular that I'm jealous. Big buff chests. Another field-necked lizard. Oh, this one's a bit cranky or angry.
A man casually
This
takes
video is
hits
just
from
showing
an
kangaroos
angry
kicking
kangaroo.
people. They're not all like that, trust me. There are some animal reserves and open-air zoos where you can interact with koalas and wallabies, which are very similar, kind of like smaller kangaroos. And once they're accustomed to humans, they're fine. That is a goanna, which you wouldn't want to be bitten by, but you rarely see them. Irresponsible dog owners and dangerous kangaroos. Stick around to the end. I have a kangaroo story that I want to share with you. It's a really cute one because I actually had pet kangaroos, which is a very rare thing, and I want to tell you all about it at the end of the video.
Get him, Jory! What? Get him! Push him!
I don't know if you saw in the background there was an albino
Are you getting tired,
kangaroo.
Jory?
They're very rare, by the way.
Here you can
And
see
another
the native
echidna
echidna in its natural environment. It's coming right for us. Oh,
They don't normally attack, they just defend
with
themselves.
much for us.
Oh, and that's in. God, was that 50 already? Okay, it showed some good animals. Notably missing are some other very, very dangerous ones like the jellyfish, which are really, really, really deadly. Oh, and my favorite dangerous, deadly animal that I mentioned earlier. What I'm talking about is a bird called the cassowary. And it's almost the size of an emu. I'm going to put a picture on the screen. It actually looks like a really beautiful bird. I really love them. I think they're beautiful, but you probably don't know they're the most deadly bird in the world. And the reason being is that because of their feet, their talons, they have like these 3 long, sharply clawed talons. And the way they attack when provoked or when they're cornered is that they jump at you and they can stab you with them. Several people have died from attacks from them. They're very, very, very deadly. I'm going to put a video on the screen of a cassowary attacking a man carrying a board so you can see how deadly they are. Fortunately, you're very unlikely to come across them. They're very shy, timid birds. So the chances of seeing them in the wild is extremely rare. But if you are unlucky enough to accidentally stumble into their territory, please get out of there as quickly as you can, because you do not want to be attacked by one of them. They're extremely dangerous. I have a little confession. Throughout the video, I was doing my best to keep a straight face. I hope I did well. Every single time I mentioned a drop bear, I have to tell you, a drop bear doesn't exist. It's a myth that Australians created to scare the tourists. They don't exist. We have this story that drop bears are these very, very vicious cousin of the koala that live in trees. And when you're out walking in the forest, they drop down on your head and they attack you. And the legend is that you should put Vegemite. If you know what Vegemite is, it's a yeast spread. I love it, but foreigners hate it. They say you put it behind your ears to repel them. All of it is nonsense. It's just something that we do to scare the tourists, the gullible tourists. Now, for those of you that have stuck around to the very end, I have a special cute little story for you, which I have never told in a video before, and it's about kangaroos. Now, in that video, as I said, it showed the bad side of kangaroos when they're aggressive and attacking people, but there is a really, really good side of them too. And I want to tell you a story from my childhood when I was very young. This happened between the years when I was about 6 or 7 years old up until when I was about 10 or 11 years old, over that period. Sadly, in Australia, from time to time, kangaroos get hit by cars, because as you saw in that video, they can jump on the road and they can destroy cars. But sadly, sometimes kangaroos get hit and killed, and a lot of other wildlife, very sadly. My family were friends with a family who lived in a nearby town, and they were caretakers of animals that had been injured or saved. Sometimes when kangaroos get hit by cars, if it's a female, they might have a baby joey or a baby kangaroo in the pouch at the front. And if they are found, they are normally rescued and sent to rescue centers. Now, at that time, those caretaker friends of our family were kind of overrun because they had a lot of animals that they were taking care of, injured animals and sick animals. And at the time, my family was living on a very small farm of a few hectares, but it was enough space to have some animals. And they asked us if we could look after some animals to help them out. So what happened is, over a period of about 4 or 5 years, we took care of 3 kangaroos at different times, obviously, with the intention of raising them from babies to adult size and then releasing them. To me, this is a really special story because this is really rare. I mean, not many Australians can say that they have grown up having kangaroos essentially as pets. Although, we always knew that they were going to be released eventually. I wanted to explain that kangaroos can actually have a very, very beautiful side to them as well. Because they were hand raised by us, we used to bottle feed them and we used to put nappies, or diapers as Americans say, with a hole cut out for its tail in the back so that the kangaroo could walk around inside the house so that it was safe. But as those kangaroos grow up, and they grow fairly quickly, the female kangaroos are normally fine. You don't have any issues with them. But as the males start to grow up and develop their sexual behaviors, they start to show aggression. So unfortunately, that's around the time where they need to be released. As much as I love kangaroos, and I've had great experiences with them, and I feel so blessed to have had that opportunity. The only bad experience I ever had with the kangaroo was once when I entered its enclosure just to feed it, but it had reached maturity. And once I walked in with the food and it came up to me, it grabbed me by the arms, sat up on its back, strong, thick tail, and gave me a good kick and knocked me to the ground. It was surprising because I'd raised that kangaroo, so I never expected that. But that's the nature of them. They're protective and That's just their behavior as they become adults. But nevertheless, I wasn't badly injured. It's just something that happened. But I have really good memories of those experiences, especially having those kangaroos in my house. Took them to school once to show my friends because I was in primary school. They've got these cute little hands, and we used to give them sliced pieces of fruit, and they eat like humans, you know, they're adorable. But yeah, I've had some crazy experiences with animals in Australia. Those were the good ones. The stories of the magpie birds attacking me were horrifying. But that's life. A lot of foreigners think that Australia is just this crazy place where everywhere you go, some insane animal is going to attack you, but it's just not the case. When I was at primary school, I remember our teachers and also our parents teaching us about the dangers of some animals. And where I lived, there weren't so many, but we were warned about what to do in case you encounter a snake in the wild, or never touch spiders because they're venomous. But apart from that, that's it. There weren't really any other dangers where I live. But as I mentioned, if you live in the tropical areas, you have more dangers like crocodiles and cassowaries and things like that. So that's just a short little story I wanted to share with you. It's a good memory. It's something I haven't thought about for a very long time. That was, 30, 35 years ago. So it's really nice to have that memory and share it with you. And if you have any questions about Australian animals, life in Australia, anything you want to ask, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks a million, guys. See you next time.